Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in today. Today's video is going to be the start of the process of me making some Halloween bits to go onto our Etsy store. So I'm just going to jump straight in with the video because there is quite a lot to get on with. So I'm just in this video today going to be prepping and cutting out all ephemera, doing any fussy cutting, preparing my covers for the notebooks or the journals that I'm going to be making. So you'll see here I'm just cutting out some tags. I am using my trimmer. I do find that this is a lot easier for me personally, just because when something is quite repetitive and I have to keep doing it for a long time, I find I lose interest very quickly and I either start making mistakes or I don't go back to it and I don't get it finished. So the faster I can get something repetitive done, the better. So that's why I use my trimmer for this part, just to cut any of the straight lines, go through and just tidy them up, get them into smaller chunks. Something that's a little bit more easier for me to digest. I don't know if anybody else ever feels like that. If it's quite repetitive, I have to break it down, otherwise my interest just does not hold whatsoever. So yeah, now I'm left with two piles, one where everything is cut out, I don't need to touch, don't need to do anything with, and this pile here is the pile where I need to go in with my scissors and actually cut it out myself. So I've cut that down quite a bit there. So I'll just pop that to the side, and then I'm just going to go through this pile of ephemera, because as I was cutting it, I also had the idea of ripping some of this, because the whole idea with this Halloween journal is to have it looking quite grungy, quite not dirty, but just used and old. So I wanted to rip some stuff, I wanted to scrunch some stuff up to make it look like it had been lost and then found again. So that's just what I'm doing here. I'm ripping off corners. This photo here of this boy, I really wanted to make this look like it had been lost and then found again, so I just gave that a really good squeeze, scrunched it up as hard as I could, and then later I'll go through and ink that so that it looks really distressed and stained. I do also, again, because this is quite a repetitive task, where I do all of this, it does give me a chance to kind of look at the ephemera and decide what I'm going to do with it. I find if I just have like an A4 sheet of ephemera and a ready-made journal, I get a bit lost and I don't really know what to do with the ephemera. I don't know how to put it onto the page, whereas where I sit and cut this and I get a look at it and I get a feel for it, I kind of look at it and go, that would look really good if I done it like this or that. So I just take it as it comes and try to remember everything as I'm going through all these little ideas that I'm having. So yeah, I'm just cutting up all the more fussier bits that couldn't be done on my trimmer. Also going through and just ripping any additional pieces. So once that is done, once they're all cut out and ready to go, I just put them to the side in a little bag, waiting to be inked up basically. Then I am getting my desk ready for coffee dyeing my papers. So I've just got an old rubbish bag that I've used previously, just popped it over my desk just to protect it, because I know I'm messy and I will get coffee absolutely everywhere, so just to protect my desk. And then I've just got my coffee in a pot with a old paintbrush, and there's no trick to it, there's no magic. I literally just paint the coffee onto the back of my printed Halloween papers. Now the look that I was going for with these papers was, I did actually want I wanted the ink on the back to run, and I wanted it to look a bit, like I keep saying, like as if it's been lost and then found again. So I just kind of like layered them on top of each other, hoping that the ink would sink through, and on some pages I was doing funky patterns or putting more coffee in certain places to hopefully obviously like drench that area. So I've just popped them to to the side to dry. And now I'm going to move on to my templates. So these are the ones that I've chosen to use, and I just have some mount board in front of me here, and I'm just going to cut out or draw around first all of the shapes that I need. So for the covers, I'm obviously going to need 2 of those covers and 1 spine for every book that I would like to make. I try to use as much as the mount board as possible, and just so that I don't get confused or lose them, I just put on the measurements of the book, just so that when I put them in a bag they all get jumbled up, so I don't want to miss any or lose them. So I'm just going through and making sure I have all of my covers drawn around and labelled correctly. Decided to do quite a few little journals, just kind of like little notebooks. So once that's all drawn around, I just grab my ruler and my craft knife, and I just cut the mount board to the size that's needed. I didn't show the whole process here because obviously it'll be quite boring, but I just sped up this little bit so you can kind of get the gist of what I'm doing. And I went through, and everything that I'd just drawn, I just cut it out and put it to the side, ready to be covered. I'm not sure how I'm going to cover these just yet. I haven't quite made my mind up, so I've literally just popped them in a little bag to keep them all safe and together and organised. Now, I had quite a bit of scraps left over, and I do put these in my scrap bin anyway, but I had an idea of making like a little charm or a tag charm for the front of one of these books. So I'm just going to go around choosing the images that I would like to use and trace around them, cut the mount board out, and then I will later just put a little hole in the top and put some string through the top of them, just to make a dangle. That was the word I was looking for, like a dangle or a charm. So I'm just pulling out small random pieces because the majority of these books are going to be pretty small, so I didn't want anything too big. So I've just cut round all of those, and did have to get my scissors out on some of the smaller pieces just to make sure I got in there and actually got to the lines. Then I just glued all of those pieces onto the mount board. I did make sure that because this mount board has got a cream side and a white side, so I just made sure that they all had the white side showing. And then I came in with my distress ink. I just used my black ink and went all around the edges of these just to give them a bit more of a distressed and a finished look. Any white edges, I'm a bit I don't like to see a lot of white edges, so I just popped that on now. I did have to trim up some of the paper on some of these as well, which wasn't really a problem. That doesn't matter. I think I might use this one for a bookmark, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to see. Whilst I had my ink out, I thought I'd best just go and ink the rest of my ephemera so that then I don't have to sit and do it whilst I'm making the books. So with this one, I just gave it a scrunch, and on those folded pieces that kind of stuck out, just inked along those as well. So on the photo itself, it kind of has some ink stains as well as on the edge as well, just to make it look like a little bit more used, lost and found. That's the vibe I'm kind of going for. And just inking up some of the edges on these. So I finally finished up with the inking and popped them in the bag. These are the bags that I was talking about. I'll just put them all in now so that they're all together and I don't lose them. And I'm just sorting through because I'm going to back some of the tags so that I can actually use them as journaling cards. The others are just going to be glued down onto pages, so they don't necessarily need to be backed. So this was how my coffee dye-in turned out. As you can see, the coffee did leak through, and it either the print from the other side came through, which I'm really happy with, or it kind of stained the printed side and gave it like a green tinge, which I was super happy with. So yeah, I will use those, and hopefully they will go with the theme that I'm looking for. So this is how my coffee dyeing turned out, and all I'm literally doing is just gluing the tags to the A4 coffee dyed paper, and I'm just using my little spreader here just to make sure that I've got everything covered in glue. There's nothing falling apart, falling off later on. It's all completely glued down flat. They're really, really handy because it just gives you that little bit more pressure than what your hands give you, and it really pushes the glue out to the sides to make sure that all corners and edges are properly adhered down and you don't have any corners that flip up. So I continued on with that, and now I just have these ones that are left and some coffee dyed paper. So I thought I'd make some little not too sure what to call them. They're just literally journal cards. So I just put one on this side, grabbed the other, and kind of gave it an even space between the two. Make sure it was adhered down. Done the same with these two. Just making sure I got everything there all glued down. I took it to my trimmer and literally just used the clear guide on the trimmer as my reference to give me an equal measurement all the way around the outside of the tags. And then all I'm going to do is literally just fold them in half, and then I've got myself a little journaling card, booklet, tag book, whatever you want to call them, just somewhere to journal. I just thought it'd be nice to add into some of them. So then I've brought back all of my tags and my handy trimmer, because like I say, I need to be able to do this quickly, otherwise I get very bored and I don't end up finishing the job. So very quickly just cut all my tags just down the straight lines just to speed that process up, and then went in with my scissors to finish up any loose bits that I'd missed on the trimmer and along the top. Sometimes I do these on the trimmer, but most of the time I find it a lot easier to just use my scissors, as long as there's not too many. So these ones are all the ones that were backed, and I just inked on the back as well, just to give it a bit of colour to the back, so it's not just coffee dyed. And for these tags here, I wanted to add on some Halloween stencils. So just like we did in my previous video, just grabbing my brushes and inking up the back of these tags, just to give them a little something on the back of them so they're not plain. I do usually like to either ink around the edges to give it a more distressed look, or do what I'm doing here and stencil a design onto the back. And I'm pretty happy with how these turned out, actually. I tried to mix it up with the positioning, and with this one I tried to actually go for a graveyard look, so I put more than one on the back of this tag. I think it turned out pretty cute. This one I wanted it to be quite faded, so I didn't add any ink to my brush on this one, so that was quite a faded one. The back, I just knew I had to do 2 or 3 of these all over the tag. Again, I didn't add any ink, I just wanted a bit of a gradient. I didn't end up using any of the text stencils. I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it, so I just went with the Halloween icons instead. So your general witches, spiders, bats, things like that. I didn't bother with any of the text. I might save those just to use on the pages of any books, maybe on the back covers. I'm not too sure just yet. Again, with this one I wanted a bit of a gradient, so I kind of went in quite heavy on the bottom. Now we move on to, I knew I wanted to put some envelopes inside of the journal as well, because I know that I've got one that's going to be 7x5, so it'll be large enough to hold these envelopes, so I wanted to pop these ones in there. So I just go around, just like I showed in my previous how-to videos, drawing around each and every template, just trying to make sure I get the image exactly where I want it. It was a struggle with that one because it was just that little bit bigger, but I did manage to find one in the end. I really wanted that girl to be in the square, but then I realised that she'd be glued to the bottom of the page, so it wouldn't have looked very good. She would have been missed out. So now I'm just going around and cutting out all of the envelopes. Once they're all cut out, I do go around and just ink all of the edges, even the edges that I know that aren't going to be seen. I do like to just give them a quick ink just in case, so there's no white edges anywhere. And now I'm just going to go through and fold all of the envelopes so that they're ready to be glued down. That piece of paper keeps flying absolutely everywhere because I've got the fan on behind me, so that might happen quite a lot throughout the video. I think it flies off into the corner somewhere and I have to go and get it. But it was quite a warm day, so I did have to have the fan on. And just because I haven't used a double-sided digital here, I've decided just to ink the insides of all of my envelopes as well, just to give it, so it's not so pure white, it's got a little something to it. I don't know what it is about the pure white, every time I see it's just so garish, I just have to kind of tone it down. So I did do that on every envelope. Sometimes I went in quite dark, others I just gave it a little bit of a tint. So I think for now that is all of my ephemera done and ready to be used. So the next batch of videos is going to be me covering my templates for the actual books and the covers and making the signatures. I hope you tune in for those too. Thanks, bye.